This podcast contains content some people may find distressing. Listeners' discretion is advised.
I heard about this case and I fully believed her.
Interesting.
I fully believed
So can
her.
you change my mind?
Well, I can now because we know the facts, but before the internet was so divided. Every true crime channel that posted this video, it was divided. People saying we should always believe the victim. People saying, I believe her. Her story adds up. Why would she do this? And people saying, you know what? No, this is a lie. This is BS. No one believes her. So the internet was really divided for a long, long time, like 6 years, until the truth came out.
Let's break down the steps and then you can try convince me that it was faked.
So the story blew up and it was literally covered by almost every single huge broadcasting channel. Everyone covered the story. It was literally nationwide search for her. Keith even went on the news to say how distraught he is and how he wants to find his wife, and obviously that he is certain she was taken against her will because of the whole earphone situation and she wouldn't leave her kids and all of the things. Until on November 24th, 2016. So when did she leave? She left on November 2nd. She resurfaced on November 24th. And she was discovered 150 miles south from where she went missing.
150. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And she was all kind of bruised and broken.
Yes.
And she was on the side of the highway.
Yes.
At nighttime, might I add.
So a woman actually saw her and she called the police and she said, listen, there's this woman. There's a chain around her waist. She looks like she's been in trouble. Can you please come and help? So the police come and she's disheveled 100%. She was severely injured. She had a chain around her waist. She had a strange branding on her left shoulder.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a branding, what you do to animals on a farm.
Literally. And what sex traffickers do as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she had a strange, she lost a ton of weight. Her nose was swollen. She had ligature marks on her wrists and ankles, and she had a rash on her arm and her inner thigh. And at first, when she came back, she didn't actually want to talk to police because she was told by her captors that they were law enforcement, that they were the police. So she was too scared to talk to the police because they're like, you're the ones who did this to me. I'm not speaking to you, basically. But when she did start opening up, she said that 2 Mexican women wearing glasses drove past her as she was jogging. And when they seen her and drove past her, they went back, they backed up, right? And one of them said, can you help me? So Sherrie walks over to the car, and that's when they show her a gun and tell her to go in. So she gets into the car where they took her to a location where they put her in a closet with a bucket and kitty litter to do her business.
Madness.
They starved her. They cut off her long blonde hair. She had really, really long blonde hair. They cut it off. They branded her. They basically tortured her. And most of all, and I quote...
for a long period of time, and she was kept in a really dark and dirty place.
Yeah. And most of all, most important of them all is... and I quote, this is a quote from her from the police report. She said they played really annoying Mexican music. So she says that one day her captors just released her. They said to get in the car and they'll just release her. She gave the FBI enough information about the women.
Didn't she also say that there was a problem between the 2 captors and one of them shot the other or something?
Yeah, I saw nothing about a shooting, but I saw that one of the captors, the older one, would hit the younger one and scream at her. But that's all I saw about that. And she gave the FBI enough info about the women for a sketch, and to offer help, the California Victims Compensation offered her $30,000 for therapy session, blinds, and ambulance bills.
Blinds?
I guess I thought of curtains.
Oh, okay,
like
privacy
maybe,
stuff maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And so the authorities, including the FBI, were super apprehensive about the whole thing, right? They said that her story has holes, and they kept questioning her actually up until 2020, but nothing would come up. And she got away with it almost for years. So she was...
So you're very much convinced that this was fake?
No, this is faked. This was 100%. She's in jail now, I think. She's in prison. She's serving time, I think.
Well, I stand corrected. But there is one other detail. Didn't someone come forward to try and offer money and all of this other stuff, like a guy who helps in these situations? I think I have his name.
Oh, yeah.
What was that Donnie's name?
Oh, I saw
Cameron
that.
Campbell.
Yeah, isn't he the one that tells you how to get out of a kidnapping?
Yeah, so this guy, I don't know if he still does it, but his kind of job, or he's made it a job of his to go and try and help rescue people who've been kidnapped.
Yes.
And he has 4 remote locations all over the world, which are undisclosed.
Yeah.
But they act as meeting points.
Yes.
So if someone has been kidnapped, they can be taken to that location, and Cameron Campbell will be a part of the negotiation.
Yes.
They offered money on 2 occasions. First time 50,000. I think the money came through an anonymous source, not through Cameron. And then 100,000.
Yeah.
Neither large sums of money were ever collected by these so-called captures.
Yeah.
And the first deadline set for the 50,000 was never met.
Yeah.
So they set the 100,000 one.
Yeah.
And then, but eventually she was found.
Yes.
Now roll back onto your point, because I'm very curious
as
to how this was faked.
So, in 2022, they found evidence on her clothing where they found a male DNA.
Wait, after how many years?
6 years now.
They found DNA after 6 years?
Yep.
So they must have kept and held on to
her... they held on to her clothes. And again, she went missing in 2016, and she got arrested for this in 2022.
Wow.
So basically what happened was the DNA of that was found on the clothes she was found in was linked to her ex-boyfriend. And so an investigation was launched, and they found that Sherrie has been talking to her ex-boyfriend as early as December of 2015.
Is that the one that lived in Detroit?
Yeah. Wait, was it Detroit? I don't think. South California.
Okay, this woman has history of doing that, because in the research that I did, before going missing by roughly a month, she'd been in contact with someone from Detroit.
Oh my God.
That one I know is the case because I have it written down in my notes.
Yeah.
But I thought we were talking about the same guy. It turns out there's another guy.
Yeah.
Tell us about the other guy.
So basically, there was no 2 Mexican women. There was no gun. There was no closet with kitty litter and a bucket. None of that was true.
Well, can we also disclose or drop the opinion or fact that usually when kidnappings happen, women are often not involved directly in the kidnapping. And secondly, there are very, very few instances of 2 women kidnapping another woman.
That's really interesting. I actually didn't know that.
The statistics don't point towards the fact of this being something common.
I don't know what her issue was with Mexican women, but she's weirdo. She's a weirdo and a racist.
So here we go, actually. This is the note I had from earlier talking about the guy. The police put out info. They put out this information that Sherrie was texting a man from Michigan who she stopped texting just before the kidnapping. But police said that this man was cleared of all charges, but they knew what they were doing when they put it out, because they put it out publicly. They didn't put it out for no reason. An expert in criminology, by the way, a man who at this point, when the research was done, had over 20 years of experience in such fields, he said he was amazed by the coincidence. This was so at this point, they didn't have the evidence that you're going to drop on us.
Yeah.
But they did have a lot of information, and Sherrie had come back and a few years had gone by.
Yeah.
And this man, who's an expert in the field, literally said, amazed by the coincidence. And he said it was highly unlikely that 2 women did the kidnapping. And he went on to say, quote, none of it makes sense.
Yes, so many people were apprehensive. So many people didn't believe her.
Also, think about violent crime in general. How often do women actually...
Yeah.
It's not common.
You're totally right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why the FBI also were really apprehensive. They were like, how true is this?
Up until the point me and you started talking about this, or up until the point you're going to drop this info, I was fully convinced that Sherrie was not guilty in the slightest.
Yeah. And so basically, it wasn't the 2 Mexican women that held her at gunpoint. It was actually her ex-boyfriend who picked her up from that location where she went missing, quote, right? And he said he didn't hear from her at all for a while because he assumed it was all over since she was married with kids and stuff like that. But one day she reached out to him. She called him while he was at work, and she said to him, my husband is abusing me. I need to run away to you. And he was like, oh my God, okay. So he's willing. He goes and he picks her up and he takes her back to his place in Southern California.
Wait, so the gunpoint thing doesn't happen?
Never happened. That never ever happened. That never happened to her.
Oh, okay. So she was just picked up from the location?
She asked him to pick her up because she wanted to get away.
And make it look like a...
Yeah.
But at this point, Keith was being very nice. As far as we know, Keith was a great husband.
Yeah, he was. None of it was true. She lied about that too. None of it was true. And so he picks her up, takes her to Southern California. And the reason he did this again was because he believed her 1000% that her husband was abusing her. And she even told him, I tried to report my husband to the police, but the police weren't doing anything about it. So I need to run away. And the craziest thing is, she asked him, when he takes her to his place, he lets her pick the room she was going to stay at because they didn't stay in the same room or anything like that. She picks the room, and as soon as she's there, she cuts her own hair. Okay? And she also asks him if they can board up the windows.
Who put out this information?
Well, the ex-boyfriend came forward when his DNA was found and he told the police everything.
Oh, he snitched?
Yeah, he was like, she asked me to get freaking boards and board up the windows. Where was he the past
6 years?
I don't know. That's the thing. I guess maybe he didn't want to get in trouble or something like that. So they board up the windows and he said she liked a lot of alone time. She spent a lot of time in that room by herself. We didn't really talk. He would be outside in the couch, in the living room, and she would literally be in there doing like nothing, right? She would only eat small portions of the food that he would make to make herself look skinny, obviously. And she gave herself her own injuries. So she would hit herself. She would, she even branded herself. She asked him to buy her like a gadget or something. I don't know what it's called, so that she can brand herself with it by herself.
Oh, wow.
And she even asked him to participate in hurting her. She asked him to like hit a puck off her knee.
This guy is questionable at best.
Well,
Let me tell you why.
He kept saying...
If I am with someone I care about, an ex-girlfriend, a current girlfriend, a sister or brother, I don't care, right?
Yeah.
Firstly, you're asking me to board up my walls.
Yeah.
That's weird enough as it is. Secondly, you also then need a lot of alone time. That's a bit more normal. Thirdly, you've cut your hair randomly. I have seen plenty of times in which a girl or a woman reacts in cutting her hair, and it usually happens out of panic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can think of an example off the top of my head. I knew somebody, super exam stress. I cut my hair.
Yeah.
She does it first thing as she gets to this new location. And then she's hitting herself, injuring herself. She is starving herself. She is branding herself. I'm sorry, but this goes back to one of the things we were saying earlier about like people being complicit in these things. Yeah. Like, he is not innocent.
No, he's not. And worst of all, if she was doing this to try to prove that her husband was abusing her, surely that's not right.
No, but I know the term red flag is used a lot.
Yeah, but it is a red flag.
That's
100%.
more than a red flag.
Yeah.
That's a red banner.
It really is.
That's a red room.
It is.
It's a red city.
It is. It's wild.
That's the red room in Black Widow.
Literally. It's crazy.
This guy was in on it. Can I give you my theory?
Yes.
Without trying to sound rude or explicit.
Yeah.
I think they were into that type of stuff.
No. In the police reports, listen, call me naive, but in the police reports, he literally said he was not participating in it.
Yeah, but you can say a lot of things. It doesn't mean it's true. Sherrie said for a long time that she was kidnapped.
That's true.
There are couples, and these things do exist, who kind of enjoy a very physical intimacy.
Yeah.
But in a very harmful way.
Like masochists and sadists. Yeah, no, I get that totally.
If you're sticking around for this, for the time that Sherrie was kidnapped for, what, a month?
Almost.
How long was she missing?
From November 2nd, and she resurfaced on Thanksgiving
Nora,
Day.
If me and you were attracted to somebody and they then came to live with us, and for a whole month they were acting like that, very quickly we would be unattracted to them.
Very quickly we'd call the police. I would call the police as soon as she started hitting herself.
At the very least, you'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a part of this relationship.
At the very least, you would see that the news says she's missing and you would contact the police and say, she is not missing, she is right here.
So do you see what I mean when I say that these two might have been into certain things?
Maybe. I don't know if we'll ever know, because that's what he's saying. He's saying he never participated. He never hit her. He never did anything. She did all of it by herself.
I believe you. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying 6 years is a long time, and you squealed as soon as some pressure was applied to you. And bear in mind, at the beginning, of course, the police are going to go after Sherrie first.
Yeah.
Because Sherrie started this whole thing. But I think in a few years, they might press him again.
Maybe.
And what did Sherrie say about this?